Thanks. So we're back from executive session. I'd like to recall to order the regular meeting of the Suffern Central School District Board of Education for August 25th. Let the record reflect that all board members are here, including Ms. Bryan, with the exception of Marlo Dickman, which is why I have the pleasure of speaking to you all this evening. So I'll do my best. We can rise for the pledge, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. We're moving on to the minutes of the regular meeting of July 21st. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes?
Move.
Mr. Shapiro, second. Mr. Donnelly. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any noes? Any abstentions? Okay, very good. Moving on to superintendent's comments.
Thank you very much. Before I introduce our first speaker this evening, I just want to make a quick update announcement to the agenda. We have pulled two items from the agenda for this evening for some minor details. We've pulled the UPK contract for KinderCare. They had a very basic question regarding the contract, but we needed to make sure that we ran that by our legal team. So we expect to have that back on the agenda at next week's meeting, which is going to be on September 1st, and plenty of time for when we start up any UPK activities at KinderCare. The second item that we needed to pull today was the memorandum of agreement with the Principals Association, specifically where we were going to appoint Jenny Narcisco to be the interim principal of Suffern Middle School for the upcoming school year. Something that we are very excited about, something that I am confident will happen at next week's board meeting. And really what took place was that there wasn't enough time for legal counsel on both ends, both the board's legal counsel as well as the Principals Association's legal representative to review that memorandum of agreement. Again, it's a basic agreement, we believe, but we want to make sure that attorneys on both sides have reviewed it, and we expect to have that on the agenda for next week. Something I know that folks at the middle school are excited about and anxious about, and I just want to reassure everyone the plan is still in place. It's just the appointment's going to be official just a week later than we thought. And now I'm going to go ahead and welcome an esteemed former board member of the Suffern Central School District, a current and longtime member of the Rockland BOCES Board of Education representing Suffern Central. Ms. Sandy Jeanette is here to give us her you typically come probably twice or maybe even 3 times a year.
I'd like to come here 3 times, but I sort of missed June because I had a concussion in May, so I couldn't go anywhere.
Yeah.
Including the dinner that was at the IFC board.
Right.
It was very nice.
It was very nice.
Carol texted me, "Where are you?"
So I'm going to ask Dr. Castellane to help you out with those documents. We're thrilled that you're here. And when you go back to the podium, if you can just push that button to make sure that the microphone is on so folks can hear you. And we're excited to hear from you.
Okay. Hello? Ooh. Doesn't make me taller, but okay. All right. I don't know if there's anybody who doesn't know who I am, but my name is Sandy Jeanette, and I'm on the Rockland BOCES board representing Suffern Central on that board. I was on this board for 9 years previously. And I do come, like Dr. Gunderson said, 2 or 3 times a year to give you an update about what your students are doing in the district who are BOCES students for part of the time or all of the time, depending. And tonight I'm going to be talking about your CTEC students, your career and technical education program students who are at Suffern High School. So first of all, I want to thank everybody for this time, for being here tonight, because we're very excited about celebrating the achievements of the Suffern High School students who have shown unbelievable dedication this year and success in that program, which we call CTEC, so we don't have to say the whole thing over. So for anybody who's not familiar, CTEC offers a half-day program to students who have the chance to graduate high school and be quote unquote career ready by earning both college credits and industry certifications. And the students listed in the handout, which I'll give you an overview, have excelled not only academically, but we're also proud of their hard work and their high standards and their dedication and commitment. This past year, 82 students from Suffern High School were enrolled in the CTEC program. That year just ended in June. Over half of them earning well-deserved endorsements, certifications, and awards. And some have even become eligible to receive a temporary license in their respective fields. So you'll notice as you look through the paper, not overwhelming, but I already looked at it, so I know the summary. 24 of the students this past year, were 11th graders. So now they have an entire year when they become seniors to qualify for additional honors after they complete their senior year at Suffern. So in an overview, we had the students earned 83 college credits this past year. 6 of them were named to the National Technical Honor Society, and 10 students were on the principal's honor roll. So we're very proud of them. And that's really all I have to say, unless anybody has any questions specifically about the program. But if you do look at it at your leisure, you can see where the certifications column is and how many hours they've completed. And many of them already have interim industry certification, which is so nice because we like to look at BOCES, Rockland BOCES, as the engine for industry and economics in Rockland County, because when the young people graduate who are not going on to secondary higher education, post-secondary, they have a skill that is desirable and not easily replicated, and it's something that they can bank on right away. So we're very proud of them. And you as a board, and I know I mentioned to Dr. Gunderson to give the principal of Suffern High School a copy of that. And I'm going to hand you the remarks, or maybe I can give them to Heather so she can scan them in. Okay. So I want to thank you very much for your time. It's wonderful seeing everybody. And I will be back sometime like November. Okay?
We'll be looking forward to it.
Thank you very much, everybody. I'm turning this off now.
Thank you. I'm going to step up to the podium to give my presentation on the work that we've been doing this past summer regarding our capital proposal. And board members, as you know, those of you that are up at the front table here, you can see now on the back wall, so you don't have to move if you don't want to. So just give me a minute to get up there, and I'll go ahead and get started. Is the clicker? Yes. Click on the right. Okay. Good evening, everyone, and members of the public as well. I'm here this evening, to give you a brief overview of what we've been working on this summer as it pertains to the capital proposal. Let me go ahead and get started. Before we dive into exactly what took place this summer, I think it's important to frame ourselves in the context of what the mission and the vision is of the district. Because ultimately, any capital improvements that we make in our district have to link somehow back to our mission and our vision as a district. And as you can see, our mission as a Suffern Central School District is to make sure that we create student-centered cultures that encourage students to become the best versions of themselves, while also contributing to their community. And you've heard me talk a lot about the importance of being student-centered in our district, and also the work that our students that are giving back to their community. In fact, there's a Night to Nourish meeting taking place even before the school year starts that includes students right now at 7 p.m. That's an important aspect of the work that we do. And our vision, of course, is that the district is a leader in creating a a safe, welcoming, and supportively academic rigorous environment where students achieve personal excellence and inspire one another. And those several words in the beginning of the vision statement are essential when it comes to this capital project. We need to create a safe space, a welcoming space, and a supportive space where we can promote academics for our students. And that's really the crux of the work that we are looking to embark on. The board has heard this before. Members of the public, and certainly the folks that are in the audience here that have been a part of Mountie Minds, have heard this many times. And we center ourselves again on why are we proposing capital improvements to the Suffern Central School District. Really revolves around 5 key themes. Number 1, safety and security. We need to make sure that we're creating clear, safe, and welcoming building entrances. There are a variety of other aspects that relate to safety and security throughout our buildings. But when we have done facility reviews, when we've done walkthroughs, when parents have walked into buildings, when we walk into the buildings every day, one of the key areas that we feel is extremely important to center on are the front entrances. Not only are they safe and secure, I would argue that Sloatsburg, the entrance into Sloatsburg, is a safe and secure entrance, but it is certainly not a welcoming and conducive environment for folks when they walk into that building. I would make the same statement about many of our schools. RP Connors, sadly, doesn't have a security vestibule. It's a welcoming environment, but it's not as secure as it should be. And you can say in different degrees the same for all of our buildings, particularly the high school as well. So that was one of our major themes. The second theme and focus, health and well-being. When the buildings, particularly the middle school that was built about 100 years ago, and the high school that was constructed in the 1970s, back then they didn't have the needs for social workers, school psychologists, OTPTs, reading specialists at the level that we have today. And we have done a very good job of trying to find places for those folks to work with our students. But there's something to be said about the lack of respect it provides for a student and the professional that they're working with when we're reconfiguring an old custodial closet and making it into an office. Our buildings were not constructed at the time for those types of purposes, and that's another reason why that's our second theme. Creating these cohesive spaces where we can be helping students, where they can feel valued and respected. Learning spaces. We need to improve our library and instructional spaces to support collaboration as well as the use of modern technology. Our classrooms at the high school and to some extent at the middle school look the same as they did in the 70s. The furniture might be a little bit different, but the technology, the look and the feel of the classroom space is ancient. It's not modern. That's another area of focus. Athletic and performing arts. I was meeting with our new teachers today, and I was saying that 2 of the many areas that are of great pride to this district is our music program and our arts program. Huge amount of mounting pride in those 2 programs. And our athletic programs need a lot of refreshing, whether it's turf fields, tennis courts, the locker rooms, which fortunately many of you don't enter into too often. It's really not a conducive place for our coaches to be meeting with their teams, motivating students, and it's an outdated space. Areas of the performing arts, our 2 main auditoriums. The middle school auditorium needs a lot of work, and the high school auditorium, which looks a lot better and is certainly more modern, has aging lighting systems, sound systems, and other aspects to the space that need refreshing. So we want to make sure that we're looking at that as a theme as well. And then finally, the meat and potatoes of a building, the building infrastructure. We're addressing aspects of boiler systems, electrical control systems, HVAC systems, roofs, you name it. Those are all areas that we needed to review as part of this work. Again, forgive me for repeating myself because the board has heard this before, but it's important to set up the context for folks that may be tuning in or watching this video for the first time. So the process so far, we have sought out a tremendous amount of community input. You can see a couple of pictures there from prior Mountie Minds meetings where we have our Mountie Minds participants, which are typically community members, parents, staff members, and students, and also a couple of board members here and there, have provided over the last several years their feelings, their observations, and their frustrations when it comes to our facilities. We've had many meetings, and most intensely, we've had meetings last year where we were trying to formulate what those themes for the capital work would be. We've also solicited feedback from staff and students. I have met with each of the faculties at all of our schools, and I've interacted with students as well about their frustrations, what they would be excited to experience in our schools as well. We've conducted a tremendous amount of research as well as school visitations. School visitations out on Long Island, New Jersey, New York State, Pennsylvania, and other places, seeing what other schools have been able to do, particularly in the areas of vocational training. You talk about C-Tech, schools bringing C-Tech into their own buildings, what they've been able to do to transform libraries away from the traditional library system that students these days really aren't utilizing it, and making it into a learning hub that's an exciting place for students to go collaborate, research, present, and perform in these library spaces. It's been eye-opening to see what the possibilities are out there. Of course, Dr. Castellane, Mr. Palma have conducted a building condition survey, a fully comprehensive survey of building conditions throughout the district that our architects have reviewed, and we'll get into that in a few minutes as well. And then finally, the work that we've been doing recently has been developing the concepts of what different spaces could look like and establishing those priorities. Because if you ask anyone that works in the district, myself included, we'd like to redo all sorts of things. But what do I hear from the community members? Rightfully so. How much is this going to cost? How long will it take to do it? Do we really need it? All things I'm going to delve into in a moment. So this is the process so far. But the work this summer has been about narrowing this incredible view of what could possibly happen if there was no price tag associated with this kind of work, and recognizing that, yeah, there's a price tag with this work. And that price tag is not necessarily always a low price tag. And that's why we've partnered with our newest construction management firm, a company called Suffern. We put out a request for proposals. We reviewed a variety of different construction management firms. We're very excited about this one particular firm that we're working with now. And they are providing us with a real sense of what the costs are for projects and what the construction impact and the timelines would be for doing different aspects of this work. Then, of course, we've taken that information and we collaborate with our building principals as well as with the architects from Mamasi. You know that our architects have presented before. They're going to be here at next week's board meeting as well to talk more specifically about some of the concepts that we're looking into. We collaborated with them, again, to establish the priorities and adjust the concepts based on feedback that we've received from Mountie Minds, members of the public who have asked to meet with me one-on-one, principals, and then our administrative team as well. And we've prioritized those potential projects into three main categories that, again, in a future slide, I will be reviewing those three different categories. So now we're narrowing the scope of what our vision was to be a bit more realistic and seriously more prudent about what the impact of this type of work could be on the community and the benefit that it'll have for our students, most importantly. Now we're also going to be partnering with Bond Counsel and a financial advisor. The Bond Counsel is the organization that goes out and solicits and receives and acquires the bonds that would be used to fund these types of projects. And then our financial advisor will be working most closely with Dr. Castellane. And that company, that organization, will be specifically talking about which projects will be able to receive 50% of state aid, which projects may not be able to receive state aid. How could we think about these projects differently to bring in revenue so that we can support some of these projects if state aid is not affiliated with the aspect of the project? That person will also be able to give Dr. Castellane real information about what the tax impact will be to the community. And I know that we are not going to be making any decisions moving forward without having a real firm understanding of what that tax impact will be in the short term and the long term for community members. And then also the idea of, is there a way that we can reallocate some of our capital reserves to pay for aspects of these projects and get creative about the finances? And then the work that we've also been doing this summer is about preparing to educate the community. There's some folks that have said, hey, I've heard that there's talk about redoing the auditorium or redoing the entrance to the high school. Well, yeah, there is talk about that. The reason why we haven't been sending out information to the public is because we haven't firmed it up. We, as a board, want to be transparent in the work that we're doing. So we are talking to different constituent groups, particularly Mountie Minds, and staff members and administrators and members of the community that have been asking questions. So we're being transparent about that, but we haven't sent out documentation yet because we need to make some decisions before we give real information so we don't confuse the public. So we're preparing those materials as well. The other piece that we're doing that's exciting, you'll hear me talk about 38 classrooms at the high school that in our mind need to be updated and renovated so that they can be modern learning spaces. Places that have whiteboards, a projector, flexible seating and furniture, lighting that's conducive to education, blinds that can close and look nice as opposed to crooked and broken and twisted. A place where students walk in and they feel respected as learners. We are building a model classroom so our teachers, our students, and our members of the public, when we bring folks through for tours, can see what a current Suffern High School classroom looks like and walk right next door and see, oh my gosh, this is what a student could be experiencing. Nothing incredibly opulent, but how much more conducive a modern learning environment will be for a student and for a potential parent as they come to back to school night, being inspired and thinking, wow, my child is in a school building where they really value the experience this child is getting. So that's the work that we've been doing this summer. So some of the questions as we're refining the scope of this work is, number one, are the concepts and the work that we're considering addressing our vision and mission? And we talked about safe, welcoming, and supportive environments for our students. Anything that we do, including the concept of replacing a high school boiler, does it meet those safe, supportive, and welcoming criteria? I would argue yes. You need heat in order to be safe. That's one of the key fundamental aspects, right? So do all the projects check the box where they address vision and mission. Is the work focused on the needs of the student? You will not see anything in this bond proposal that focuses on the administrative building. You will, however, potentially see work that focuses on the general offices at the elementary, middle, and the high school buildings. Not because we want to create nice looking spaces for our administrators, although that's a nice fringe benefit, but it's more about the look, the secure feel, and the flow of the general offices as you walk into the buildings. Anyone that has walked into the middle school general office, that is not a welcoming, conducive feel for a parent, and especially a little sixth grader when they walk into that building. Our team makes it as welcoming and nurturing as possible, but the physical structure alone does not. Same goes for the high school. It's a confusing space for folks to navigate. So you will see some of those things. I believe that is focused on students. Is the work reflective of effective stewardship and long-term value? 20 years, 30 years from now, are the taxpayers in Suffern Central going to say, yeah, we did that referendum and that capital project. That made sense. That was not a waste of money. That is important decision-making on our part and this Board of Education's part. It's not just is it going to satisfy the needs of our students 3, 4, 5 years from now when the project's finished, but is it going to continue to satisfy their needs a couple of decades down the road? Is the work feasible? Depending upon what we finalize, this could take several years, 3 to 5 years for us to complete this work. And what are the nuances with doing that work? Will students have to be relocated? Will they have to move? Will there be some uncomfortable aspects, months or even years to this work? Those are things that we have to look into. And then really the 3 priority areas come down to, is the work necessary? The second priority would be, is the work that we're considering highly desirable, but maybe not absolutely necessary? And the third, can what we're thinking about wait? Can it happen 10, 15 years from now instead of happening right now? And then finally, we're looking for, will this garner community support? And we all know that we're in a community that has evolved greatly over the last 15 to 20 years. Our public school enrollment has decreased and our private school enrollment has gone up. Is our private school community going to see that a bond referendum has some value for them as well. We'll be talking about that also. So we focus in on the narrowed scope. Number one of these three major priority areas, and this is what we're going to go over in greater detail next week with the architect. So I'm not here, and I probably should have prefaced this, I'm not showing you fancy pictures or renderings or really speaking about the details. I'm laying the groundwork down so we can avoid a 20, 30-minute beginning portion of that presentation by doing it this evening here. The essential needs. What are the things that we absolutely have to get done? I mentioned before, secure and welcoming entrances to all of our buildings. We absolutely need to renovate the entrances, the security vestibules, whether we're remodeling them or introducing them for the first time into all of our buildings. It needs to be a safe and welcoming place where students and members of the community walk in and feel, I'm safe, and I'm also feeling welcomed and respected. The other aspect of essential needs, necessary infrastructure replacements. You'll hear next week us talk about the boiler at the high school, absolutely needs to be replaced. You'll hear us talk about HVAC replacements that need to be done, electrical systems that need to be upgraded, and some plumbing systems as well, particularly at the middle school. The middle school needs a lot. The 100-year-old building has work to be done, but the high school, the boiler is a key essential part. There are also some aspects, for example, you'll hear about at Montebello Elementary School, the main staircase going up from the general office lobby area up to the floor above. Those steps are uneven. Those steps, that staircase needs to be replaced. Those are essential components to the infrastructure that needs to be taken care of. And then, of course, end-of-life turf and tennis court replacements. That big, beautiful turf field at Suffern Middle School, it's reached the end of its lifetime. It needs to be replaced in the next couple of years. Coaches will talk about it. Students will talk about it. It's outdated technology and it's worn out. We have only a few years left. That needs to be replaced, as well as the tennis courts that have all the dead spots on them. That needs to be replaced at the high school as well. So those are just a couple of examples of the essential needs. The second part, priority renovations. What are we doing that, yes, can a student continue to go to school at Suffern Middle School or Suffern High School in the current classroom conditions and be fine? Yeah. Just like they're going through today. We're not doing damage to them, but the idea is we can do better than that. We need to create educational environments that are going to inspire not only our students that are going to be here 3 years from now, but students into the future as well. Are we preparing our buildings for the future and for our students? So we have a long list of priority renovations, primarily at the middle school and the high school. And I should preface by saying we're really not focused anymore on the elementary school classrooms as much as we were focused on in the beginning of this process. There's been more money, more updates, more improvements made to the elementary schools in the prior years. And that's one of the spaces, 4 spaces, where we felt like we could pull back from. I'll talk about that in the third option there. So that's where I'm really focusing on the middle school and the high school. The auditorium, both buildings, old, dilapidated, especially at the middle school, needs significant renovations. The library spaces, in both libraries, but primarily at the high school, the big, beautiful view of the mountain range, a wonderful place for kids to come and be inspired, perform, do research, collaborate. The space is not conducive for it. The music classrooms at both schools, the art classrooms at both schools. I had the Alumni Association. We had a meeting in the art classroom way upstairs at Suffern High School, and they walked in to folding tables and furniture and cabinetry that is literally falling apart. Those are spaces, and with an award-winning teacher in there, that need attention. And our general classrooms. We're also looking at the HVAC systems in gymnasiums. It's incredible. We have a blower system at the high school that doesn't have a cooling unit on it. It will be an inexpensive, relatively speaking, inexpensive addition to that blower system to add air conditioning. Some really creative ideas from our building team, as well as our architects, to make some of these things happen that will create spaces that really can be used in the summer months and even perhaps generate some revenue with rentals. We're also looking at the locker room and team room renovations. Again, they are old, beat up, worn down spaces that need a lot of attention. Also, the technology classrooms in both buildings. I'm talking about wood shop that we've brought back to Suffern High School, improving the amount of offerings, increasing the amount of offerings that we can provide for our students. As Ms. Cindy Jeanette mentioned before, there are tons of students that want to go to Rockland BOCES. We need to be able to create some of those programs in Suffern Central because there are too many students that want to go to Rockland BOCES for CTEC, and we can't financially support all of them going there. It's incumbent upon us to create that space to offer some of those programs here in Suffern High School. So we're going to be looking at the technology suite, the wood shop, and the robotics classrooms as well. And then finally, the bane of every parent who does drop-off at the high school's existence, staff members and seniors who drive to school, is the traffic flow at the high school. It's been an issue for years that we have not been able to solve, and we will not be able to solve it without a financial and construction investment. We'll talk about that next week as well. And then here are the optional and future considerations. Quite frankly, things that are not absolutely necessary, but should be considered. One is a field house at the high school. I believe that a field house is going to be something that's going to garner a lot of discussion with the Board of Education and certainly garnering a lot of discussion with groups like Mountie Minds and meetings that I've had with individuals, that either this could be the greatest idea ever that Suffern Central has, or it could be something that the community will simply not tolerate or support financially. We'll talk about that a little bit more at our next board meeting in a week, but essentially it's the idea of creating an outside structure up on the field where the old track is, the old practice football field at the high school, creating a facility out there that would be able to house an indoor winter track that would be competition ready, that would be revenue producing. But more importantly, it would have a small section of turf field. It would have indoor basketball courts, volleyball courts, and whatever else we would have in a typical gym in that space. And the key benefit for our students would be that every student at Suffern High School would be able to practice immediately after school and get on the late bus to go home. More and more, because of the financial struggles of so many of our community members, our students, they have a really tough time when practice is not right after school. And we simply don't have the facilities at the high school to support all students practicing after school, especially in the winter months. You'll have students coming in at 6 o'clock at night, 8 o'clock at night to practice because there is not enough gym space. If we were to move forward with this concept here, every student would be able to practice, go home on the late bus, and not have to figure out or stress, how do I get back to school for practice? I can't participate on the team because my parents can't drive me and I can't get a ride. We'll dive in a lot more to that, but I wanted to paint the picture of why we're talking about that field house concept. And as I mentioned before, this could be a wonderful idea or an idea that our community simply won't support financially. And we'll talk about the pros and cons of that. But I have that down there as optional because it's something important for us to consider. And it's not an absolutely necessary piece of a concept, but it is important. Other things that I think can be future considerations, roof replacements. Our building condition survey states that our roofs should be included on a future bond referendum. Well, we've done a really close look at our roofs, and our facilities team has maintained our roofs extremely well. And we believe that we can take the roof replacements off of any sort of bond proposal. And these are things that we can support with our capital reserves when the time comes and we need to replace roofs or pieces or portions of roofs. We believe that we can take those off. Unit ventilators in all of our classrooms at the high school. Something that any architectural firm or construction management firm would say, hey, if you're renovating a classroom, renovate the whole thing. No, our unit ventilators are in good shape. They're not the newest unit ventilators, but they are well maintained and will continue to be well maintained for years to come. We don't believe that they need to be included in a bond proposal. We also had a lot of discussions early on in this process about our elementary library spaces, redoing our maker spaces, music and art room classes at the elementary schools. that is really not a high enough priority for us. As I mentioned before, this district has invested a great deal of money in facilities and classroom upgrades at the elementary schools, but not nearly as much at the middle and the high school in the last several decades. So that's why we believe that those could be future considerations and will likely not be on any sort of bond proposal. So the impact for our elementary schools would not be significant except for those main entrances and some security enhancements like new PA systems that configure with the security systems, infrastructure things that people won't see because it's cabling behind walls and things of that nature. The focus will really be on the middle school and the high school. So what's our path forward? You can expect our meeting next week. I'll be joined by our architect from Mamasi, and we'll be talking a little bit more specifically about the work that we are proposing. These are things that we are then going to go back to the Mountie Minds with. So on September 8th and September 14th, our participants in Mountie Minds will have the option of going to either one of those two sessions. If anyone is not on the Mountie Minds but would like to be involved in this conversation or join Mountie Minds, I encourage you to go ahead, scan that QR code, send us the email, and we will send out the invite for September 8th and September 14th to those individuals so they can get a real detailed idea of what we're looking for. Because I know the Board of Education really well here, and you want to be included in this decision-making. Ultimately, you have to make the decision on what we move forward with or not, but you're not going to want to do that until you feel as though the community has been heard. On September 15th, then, we'll come back with that feedback from Mountie Minds and share an updated proposal to the Board of Education, a more refined version where we're closer to where we think we need to be. Then we'll take that and we will push out thought exchanges, get additional feedback from the community, garner more feedback, provide that to the Board of Education so that either on October 6th or October 20th, one of those two October board meeting dates, this Board of Education will vote on what the package will be that we will present to our voters for an early December bond vote. We will then spend, I and our team, administrative team, will spend October and November educating the community, educating our students, staff members, parents, government officials, Rotaries, businesses, you name it, our non-public community about the work that we're looking to do and why we believe this is going to be important for the long-term viability and benefit of Suffern Central students. That concludes my presentation. Hopefully this gave you a little bit of an overview of where we've come, where we are right now, and what the time frame looks like for moving forward without getting into the specifics of what the proposals are. I'm going to go ahead and take a seat, but I'd be happy to take any questions from board members.
Thank you very much, Dr. Gunderson. It's very helpful. Are there any questions from the board for Dr. Gunderson?
Hopefully that means I was comprehensive and not that I put you to sleep. Board members, you all know how to get in touch with me as well if you have any questions. And the same goes for members of the public. If there's anything that sparked your curiosity here, you want to learn more about some of the work that we're doing, I'm happy to get into some of those details with interested parties. Even before the Board of Education meets next, there's nothing that we're hiding here. It's just that we want to make sure that anything that we're presenting to the public is a bit more refined so it doesn't create confusion from the public standpoint, because not all members of the public pay as close attention to the details. Sometimes they just hear the rumors or little sound bites, and it paints a picture for them that may not be accurate. I have a couple more things for my superintendent's report, and then I'll close it out. The regular superintendent's report now. Athletics kicked up. Last week we had football players back practicing. Yesterday and today, tryouts are starting for all of our other teams. Really exciting to see our kids, our Mounties out on the fields, kicking off the school year by participating in athletics. And fortunately for them, the weather has been beautiful. So really nice to see them out there and enthusiastic and sweating, but not sweating to the extent that they could be at this time in August. We're really excited about the start of the school year that's coming up just next week. As I mentioned earlier, we had new teacher orientation kickoff today. Dr. McCahill led that effort today, as well as for the next 2 days. It'll culminate with a bus tour around Suffern Central, where our new Mounties get a sense of the history of Suffern, see where the school buildings are, get a layout for the community. It's really an exciting opportunity for all of them. We had about 20 new staff members join us today, and it was a beautiful mix of folks who are brand new to the profession, folks that come with a fair bit of experience as well, and a handful of Suffern graduates, which is always a nice thing to see them coming back home. I mentioned that next week we will be having another board meeting on September 1st. That's Tuesday, which will then be followed by the first day, the orientation day for staff members on September 2nd. And then all of our students, I saw a couple of students walking by the Hilburn building this afternoon. I said, "Are you guys excited for school?" And I got a mixed reaction. The little ones were like, "Yeah, we can't wait." And the one that was probably in middle school was like, I'll be polite and I'll say, "Yeah." But it's here. It's coming up, and it's a good thing for all students to get back into the groove and learn and grow along with their teachers and their classmates. And that concludes my superintendent's report.
Thank you. Moving on to our first public participation of the evening. So this is public participation on action items only. Is there anyone here who would like to speak on any action items? Looks like no. So I'm going to call for a consent agenda for action items 2.01 to 2.28. Is there any item any board member would like to pull? No? Lovely. Makes it easy. So calling for a motion to approve action items 2.01 to 2.28. Do I have a motion? Mr. Frazier, second? Mr. Shapiro, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Any noes? Any abstentions? Thank you for making that one easy on me. Moving on to our second public participation of the evening. So this is on any district business at all. Is there anyone here to speak from the public on any district business? Looks like no. Moving on to board member comments. Do we have any board member comments this evening?
I just like, oh, go ahead.
Ms. Bryan?
Good evening, everybody. I just want to appreciate the presentation that you just did. I felt it to be comprehensive enough and easy enough to see the differences in most important to maybe we should do it. I felt as though it is a simplistic enough explanation of why we're doing what we plan to do, and the public should really show up next week to ask our architects the more critical questions and more in-depth questions as to how the spending, for example, may impact us, the construction may impact us in that regard. So thank you for that.
Mr. Donnelly?
Yeah, I just like to recognize Dr. Andrew Trust, who left our district and moved on. I just wanted to say thank you to him for the years that I worked with him. I always found Andrew to be straightforward and just a real gentleman, and really knew his job as a assistant principal at the time, the high school. I just want to wish him all the best, and it's our loss, in my opinion. I really I appreciate you, and I want to thank you for your friendship over the years that we've built, and I wish you all the best. Thank you.
Thanks. Any other board member comments? I want to thank Ms. Jeanette for visiting us tonight and sharing a little bit about what's going on at BOCES. It's always really good information, so thank you for coming. Okay, moving on. Closing comments. Superintendent's closing comments.
I have no further comments.
Okay, moving on to adjourning. Can I have a motion to adjourn? Our next meeting is 1 week from today, September 1st. I thought Dr. Gunderson already, but sure, can't hurt. Can't hurt.
Save more.
Mr. Frazier, second. Mr. Donnelly, all those in favor say aye. Any noes? Any abstentions? Thanks, everybody. Have a good night. We'll see you in a week.
Thank you.